Yo, it's Ty Rich from Bite Podcast. I'm sitting down today with Marcus, the founder and the owner of Old World. What do you say, Molossus?
That's right. Yeah.
Okay, Molossus, and the creator of the American Molossus. How you doing today, Marcus?
I'm great, man. How are you, Ty?
I'm great. I'm great, man. I appreciate you sitting down with me. I think my partner Vaughn reached out to you. He told me about you. He told me about you a couple weeks ago. He said, "Hey, man, this man got these crazy, big, huge dogs." He bought. He told me. I think he said something like he bought a dog that was on the brink of extinction back. That's what he told me.
That's right.
So,
Yep.
so I was like, "Yeah, man. Let's see if we can get him on the show." And here we are. So I appreciate you, man.
Pleasure to be on here.
Let's jump right into it.
All right.
Let's jump right into it. Breeding. How long have you been breeding?
I've been dog breeding since 1995.
Mm. And
Couple years.
it's always been big dogs.
Yeah, I mean I started with Rottweilers, so yeah, big dogs from the beginning. It's kind of an interesting thing that got me into dog breeding.
Okay. Well, I heard you say Rottweilers. Rottweilers is a form of a molasses too, right? Is that a form of
Yeah.
a
Yeah, I mean they're not a direct descendant, but they're under what they call the Molosser breeds.
the molasses breed? Okay, okay, yeah. I had a cane corso one time, and um, I had said something wrong about the breed, and somebody kind of corrected me. This was a long time ago, and it was like, no, that's like I remember them using that word, molasses breed.
Yeah.
So I started looking into that more, and I started seeing the Neapolitan Mastiffs and the Old English Mastiffs and all that type of stuff. So what got you into breeding?
Well, what got me into dog breeding in the first place was in the 90s. I was in a really rough area and my house got robbed. And the cops, it took a day for them to even come out. And when they got there, they said that I'm better off to have a big dog like a Rottweiler for protection. And so I bought a Rottweiler, and it did protect my property. And I fell in love with the breed and started reading about him, learning about him, and then that got me into dog breeding. That's the beginning.
Yeah, I tell people all the time, anybody that's doing any type of criminal activity is more afraid of a dog than a gun.
Right.
You-
Man's best friend and protector.
yes. Um, so from the Rottweilers, you went to the breed that you're doing now, or did you stay with Rotts for a certain amount of time?
I did. So what happened is I bred Rottweilers, and then owning them. You know, it's one thing to see them and hear about them, but owning them and learning about their temperament and deciding if it was a good fit for me and my soon-to-be family at that time. Um, it wasn't the right breed. Beautiful dogs and beautiful for what they do, but it just wasn't the right fit. And doing exploration in different breeds, that's how I found out about the Neapolitan Mastiff, which at that time wasn't an AKC breed yet. It was a rare breed, and fell in love with that breed and started breeding Neapolitan Mastiffs. And I did that for over 20 years, and that's actually what got me into the Molossus.
Now the Neapolitan Mastiff, that's the dog from Turner and Hooch, right?
No, that's a Dog de Bordeaux, and they're
Okay,
a nice breed too.
okay,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, now the Neapolitans are when they got the more of the excess skin, the droopy skin, correct?
Yeah. Yep. The
Yeah,
Neapolitan Mastiff, their origin is Italy, and they are known for the long jowls, the dewlap, and the excessive wrinkles. Yeah, that's
right,
definitely them.
right. Okay, so as far as breeding, what I know you said you started getting into the dogs because of the whole breaking and stuff. What actually like made you go into the like, okay, I got a dog, but because so many people had dogs but don't breed. So what actually made you say I want to breed the dog?
You know, that's a really good question. I got to think back because it's been a long time, but I think what happened is that owning the Rottweiler, and I got him as an adult. I wanted a puppy,
Okay.
and then you do research. Back then it isn't like now where the internet and all that stuff. We had to go buy magazines, and they had a magazine called Rottweiler Quarterly, and you would see these breeders talk about the dogs and how they would they'd breed them, they'd have them as puppies, and they'd raise them and they'd train them. And having that adult dog, I was like, I want to experience having a puppy and going through that process. But I'm picky, and so I started looking around, and I was able to get a female, and then that's when I decided, what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to experiment and try dog breeding. And I had no idea what I was in for, obviously, but it was a good move for me. It was a good experience, and obviously I loved what I went through, and here
Right.
I am today, still doing it.
Right. 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 Okay. Okay. And you're the first person I ever had on this platform that's a breeder of a different type of breed. Normally, I'm talking to breeders who got bullies and French bulldogs. So I had to dig a little bit.
Yeah.
I came across you on YouTube. I forgot what YouTube channel it was, but I think they was talking about a dog, Monstro.
Oh,
Was it
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Monstro? Yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I think at that time he was like the biggest puppy, like at 8 months old.
Yeah, and he's still growing. Right now, he's about 250 pounds, and he just turned 2 years.
What?
Yeah, yeah,
Sheesh.
yeah. His sister, I have literally right here, with her puppies. They're just 3 weeks old today, and
Wow.
yeah, man, they're big.
Wow. So you said 250 pounds.
Yeah, yeah,
Man, wow, that's a big dog.
yeah.
I interviewed a guy named T. He's known for his XL bullies. I think he has a dog named Lion King right now that's like 206 pounds. So as a bully, but
That's a
I
big
mean,
bully.
that's a big bully, yeah. But I mean, 250? Man. Okay, so
Right.
um, can you tell me a little bit about the history of the old world or the like that breed?
Yeah, so the American Molossus, they're the oldest guard dog in history. And the Neapolitan Mastiffs that I bred for over 20 years, they're the descendants, actual direct descendants of the Molossus. And they were a giant, dark, camouflaged dog that was used to protect. And they're from ancient Mesopotamia, Sumeria, Babylon, that era. And they were around between 5,000 and 2,000 BC. So it was a long time. And the history was amazing. And what they did, what they were able to defend and protect, they were very difficult to see at night. They were a large, massive breed that could fight against, humans and animals. And I was so intrigued with that history. And knowing that the descendants were still here, I was like, you know what? No one has these dogs, but I'd love to bring these dogs back. And that was my journey, and that was my dream. And I worked hard to do it, and they're here.
Yes, yeah, I seen on the same episode I watched. So to get the American, you took the Neapolitan and the Old English, correct?
Yeah, so what it basically is you have to kind of, so if you know what that dog looks like, I had renderings and there's statues and stuff like that. You basically have to take the two descendants, which was the Old English Mastiff and the Neapolitan Mastiff, and use them to get started. The tricky part is I don't want it to be out there where people think you can just get any Mastiff and any Neapolitan, just put them together, and there you have it. It's not like that. You have to pick dogs that have the right temperament. They have to have the right structure. They have to have the right look. They have to have the right color. And so it's not easy. And it was what I basically did is I started working on my Neapolitan Mastiff dogs, and started selectively breeding them to have the right color. So the black brindle, no white, having a bigger structure, having them have more of a protective personality, but not necessarily animal aggressive, and then getting the right types of Old English Mastiffs I had to select. And that was a challenge for several reasons. One is because English Mastiffs don't really have that protective personality anymore. So trying to find those dogs
Mhm.
and having ones that have a bigger structure, and also having breeders that would allow you to even use those dogs. I mean, because that's a whole different topic. But a lot of people, in the bully world, I'm sure you guys can relate. When they were selectively taking dogs and making them go from like a pit bull to the American bully, whether they used other dogs or they don't want to share or however it goes. I respect them. They were doing something that was against the grain, and that's what I had to do. But ultimately, I knew exactly what these dogs looked like. I knew exactly how they were going to be structured. I knew how their temperament would be. So once I had the blueprint in my mind and drawn out, and for me, that's what it was going to be. I just knew.
And how long did it take for you to actually um breed to get the vision? So like you said, you had a blueprint and you done had renderings. How long did it take for you to get that dog and say, okay, this is the dog right here?
Believe it or not, I don't know how long exactly on my Neapolitans. I would say that looking back, it was probably, I'm going to say it was probably about a 7 or 8 year vision of wanting to do it. And then starting to work on those dogs. But when I made the jump and crossed it over with the right type of Old English Mastiff, that first litter, and a lot of people that followed me got to see them. When I talked about it when they were here, it was like I hit a home run because with that one, that particular litter all came out brindle. They
Mhm.
all had a really massive structure, really big bones. Most of them had really good temperament. So it was like I hit a home run on that first one. And then I just kept doing the same thing over and over with different bloodlines. But the key was, and anybody that does this type of thing, is that I had to pick the right dogs. That was the hardest part because I may have looked at 50 Old English Mastiffs, for instance, and none of them had the right build, none of them had the right temperament. Um, so it was that was a big challenge, and then the money, you got to step up and pay for the best dogs. So that was a big part of it. So the planning was the biggest part of it. Actually
Right.
physically doing it was, I would say, that probably the easier part. So anybody that's trying to bring back or create a dog, I would say just do your homework and spend the time, be methodical, plan it out, and get the right dogs. If you do all of that, it's kind of like working sports with the kids.
Right.
If they practice hard, right? They envision what they want to do, they plan to win, they practice to win, they focus on winning. Then when they actually get on the court, it takes care of itself. So
Right.
that's what I would say with that first litter, and then building on that. I mean, I think we're at 4 generations in, and shout out to Grizzly Molossus, by the way. They've done a lot of good things too. So uh, that's where we're at. We need one more generation, and then we're going to apply for the AKC. So we're pretty excited about where we're at.
Wow. Okay. So dang, so they not even on the AKC yet. Man,
No,
that's crazy.
no, yeah,
Man. So I got a very interesting question about the breed. What
yep.
how did the breed get lost? Like what happened? What made the like is it just the time or was it
No, it's a good question. So historically, what basically happened is those dogs stayed around for a longer than any breed there is right now. But what happened is the rise of grease from the depictions and the stories that you look, or historians would say it is, those dogs were used by Greeks, and then they had bred a different type of dog, and I'm not sure. Everybody I talked to has mixed feelings about what that dog was, but they crossed it with a dog in Greece, and ultimately that's what became of the what we would know as the Mastiff today, or Old English Mastiff. And the term Molossus actually came from Greece, although they didn't originate in Greece, from Mesopotamia. That dog was from, I believe it's Molossia, and they called it the Molossus, and that's where the name came from. It didn't originally have that name. They were the dogs of Gula originally.
Wow.
So and so what happened is, in Greece they had these dogs where they crossbred them, and then Rome took these dogs and crossbred them with a fighting dog, and they would use them in the Colosseum for entertainment, and they were now known as the Neapolitan Mastiff. Both of those crossbreeds, the English Mastiff and the Neapolitan Mastiff, phenomenal breeds, excellent dogs. I love them both. Um, but the thing for me is I just wanted to go back to the original dog, and for me, just because of the history and the look of them and what they do, just an amazing, amazing breed.
Can you tell me what's the difference in like when I looked at Monstro when I seen him on the video, he had the look of a Neapolitan. Like if I seen him on the street, I would say, "Oh, that's a Neapolitan." But what
Yeah.
separates him from what makes him a Molossus then more than a Neapolitan? Like,
It's a great question. All of the Mastiff breeds, if you look at them, they are similar. You could take a Neapolitan Mastiff, and depends on how it's bred and how it looks. It could look really similar to a Cane Corso, for instance, or it could
mhm,
look similar to a Mastiff. So they all have similarities: large, big frame dogs. Um, but I would say that the coat and the color is the difference. Like Neapolitan Mastiffs generally are a blue color. They can come in black. They can come in mahogany and tawny. Mastiffs are generally fawn with a black mask. They can be brindle as well, but the Molossus are definitely for the camouflage look. They're brindle and different types: black, black brindle, brindle. That's their color. They have a bigger frame than all of the other dogs. So Mastiffs can be taller, but as far as their bone structure and the mass of their body, they're more like a bear. Neapolitans are long and cat-like in their build, and they have really pendulous lips and lots of skin, whereas the Molossus shouldn't be that way. They should have skin around the neck and mouth for protection, but not so much hanging off the legs and off the body. And that's the biggest thing. I mean, when you think of a when I would say what makes a Molossus what they are is they look like a bear. Like if like a dog is crossed with a bear. I mean, that's what they look like. That's how they should be. And
okay,
I do want to say this though too, really important, because I cover the looks of them a lot, and I
mhm,
cover temperament a lot. But it's really important to understand that I want these dogs to be extremely healthy. I mean, it's really, really important. And by me bringing in all of these different bloodlines, crossing them, it's been really good. We've done genetic testing, and with the large gene pool, I think we're off to a really good start. And I really want to work hard, not just myself, but with the other breeders, is to try to get these large dogs to live 10 to 12 years. It's not common in these large dogs, but I'm a big believer that if you have the blueprint, you have the goal. If we can work hard to get to that point, that would be tremendous.
right, right. Okay, so we that was one of my other questions that I was about to ask, but we even that one. So okay, even with this, what are some common health issues with the molasses that they may face, and how can one try to prevent them? Like,
Oh, it's a good question. So basically, you'd have to go back to mastiffs and Neapolitan mastiffs in general. With large breeds, you can have joint problems because they're so large, and especially when they're really young. If people aren't experienced with these breeds, sometimes they'll take them for runs. They'll have them do just rough house with bigger dogs, or maybe jump out of a back of a pickup or run down the stairs. And with these large dogs, their bones, it takes them a long time to get completely solid. So if you do any of that stuff before, say, 16 months, joint problems can, and I've seen it. I've actually seen experienced breeders get these dogs and work them too hard, too young, and then they have joint problems. So that's something. Large breeds also tend to have problems. They can have problems with hips. They can have problems with um, heart can be an issue. So you have to look at all those things, and how can you help with that? You test them, and then the dogs and the breeders that they came from. So, like for instance, with me, if I've gotten dogs from America, from Europe, from Germany, and well-known, really good breeders, respected breeders that have longevity. So with your stock, that's what you go after. I mean, there's no way I can sit here and say, "Oh, I'm flawless, I'm perfect." No way.
Right,
I'm all board, but you want to just try to do everything you can to try to eliminate those issues. That's the best you can do as a breeder.
right. How would you describe their temperament and their personality? Like, what are their temperaments?
It's the best. We talked about man's best friend, right? So this particular breed, what I love about them is that they're loving and loyal. So they can be really chill. They can just lay by your side, watch TV with you, be really relaxed, very trustworthy, but lightning fast and powerful and aggressive if they have to be. I mean, they're I think probably the thing that surprises people the most is they think, "Oh, this is a big teddy bear that just couldn't do nothing." I've seen comments where people are like, "I could come over there and just beat that dog up. That dog couldn't do nothing." And I swear to you, man, these dogs right here, first of all, if anybody ever even saw one in person, they would never even try. But they're really fast and really powerful and protective, and that's what I love about them. They're not aggressive though, so they're not an attack dog. They wouldn't go like rip through a fence and chase somebody. They're gonna ward them off, and as soon as the person retreats, they come right back. And this is natural; it's innate in their character, and that's what I love about them. Because I don't need a dog that if some kid is on my fence trying to steal an apple and falls in and gets mauled. I don't need a dog like that. I don't think most people want a dog like that from the
Right,
liability. So they know, and they can also be around other animals, is what I love. They won't necessarily attack another animal, especially if they're raised around them. I mean, my molossus, they're around little pugs, cats, kids. I don't have to worry about any issues with them. The only thing I have to worry about is somebody being stupid enough to try to break into my house. That's it.
right,
And that's on them.
right, right. How important is like the socialization and training of them? Is this breed? I understand you saying like, okay, this dog, long as it wards the danger off for the go back around. But I remember when I had a cane corso, so I really had to enforce dominance.
Yeah, with this breed, socialization is huge because they're not the type that you want them to not be around strangers. You want anybody and everybody to be around them because of their size and the way they are. They're going to be protective on their own, and they're going to scare the wrong people off on their own. So if if you were to take one of these dogs down the street, people would freak out because of how they look, but they definitely aren't going to approach you. They won't just come up and pet. I mean, there's just no way it's not going to happen. Um, but uh, socializing is a huge thing, and also teaching basic obedience is huge because these dogs will take you skiing down the road if you don't have them under control. I mean, I I personally have been dragged by these dogs, so it's one of those things where there's no doubt about it. You have to have them trained. If you can't do basic training with these dogs, then yeah, they definitely aren't the right breed for you.
Right, right. Yeah, that's like when I got my cane course, so a lot of I seen a lot of people put emphasis on this wasn't a beginner dog. This ain't a beginner dog.
Right.
Somebody's first pet.
Right.
So would you suggest that like with the would you say that with the breed that you got, these are not good for like first time pet owners, or what would you say?
You know, that's a good question. I would say that there's a lot of really smart people, and I would say that I would prefer they have experience with dogs, to be honest, because of their size. But I think that if somebody does the research, or say they get one from me and they're willing and to do what it takes, like if I tell them, hey, do obedience training, socialize them, stuff like that, and they prepare. No, I don't think. I think a beginner person could have them, no problem.
Okay. All right, that's good.
Yeah,
That's good.
yeah.
What makes the best living environment for them? And how much exercise do they require? Like,
Oh, they're diverse. They're diverse. I have clients that have them on multiple acres and they protect livestock and other animals. And I have people that have them living in a condo. They do good in
wow.
both. Yeah, they do good. See, the thing with them, what's cool about them is they're not hyper. They don't have a lot of energy. They're not like other breeds where they have to be. Like, I'll give you an example. Let's do a comparison with a Rottweiler, for instance. Rottweilers have a high prey drive, and that's how they're supposed to be. And they have a lot of energy, and they need to be worked
Right.
because of that. And so for some people that have active lifestyles, that's the perfect breed for them. This breed can do it, but that's not what they're known for. I'll give you an example. There's an Old World Chief. He actually jogs with his owner's son 5 miles a day every day. That's what he does. So they're capable of doing it, but most of them don't. I mean, a lot of them just like to be around their owners. I mean, historically speaking, if you go back to Mesopotamia, a lot of them were in hospitals and they were used for the function of, well, they were believed to heal with their saliva and with
Hmm.
their attention. So if somebody was sick, the dog being by them as a companion was healing for them. And also, if they had wounds, they would have them lick their wounds. In fact, the saying, I'll lick my wounds and recover,
Right.
that's where that came from these dogs.
Wow.
And so it's an interesting thing about them. So in those situations, they would be attentive and right by the person at all times, but they also would be able to defend the property. So they can do both, and that's what I love about them.
Right. Okay. Um, any misconceptions or stereotypes about the dog?
Yeah, I would say the biggest thing is that people think they're just fat and lazy and can't do nothing. That's the one thing I think that really surprises people because they certainly are not lazy at all. Big and massive, absolutely they are. And compared to other breeds, some people would think, oh, that they're overweight, but that's how they're supposed to be. But I think that's one. And the other thing is people think because they're big that they're just full of health issues, and again, that would be wrong too. They're just like any breed, if they're not bred properly or they're not, they don't do the right thing, they can have health problems, but they can also be free of a lot of that stuff too. So those would probably be the two that I would say are misconceptions about them.
So I heard you shouted out grizzly molasses. So I'm sure y'all the molasses community is small.
Right now it is. Yeah, it is small. Ancient Guardian Molossus was in the beginning with us, Mega Built Molossus, Grizzly Molossus, Red Dirt Molossus. There's a it's growing quick and there's a lot of dogs and we all work really well together and we talk about getting new bloodlines and where the breed is going and we're all on this mission together to get the breed to AKC. I mean, right now they're recognized already by 5 different registries, but ultimately, like to be recognized by the AKC, and that it is going to happen. I mean, that's for sure.
Okay. Um, for the people that don't know, what would one of these dogs cost? If, say, for instance, I wanted to come to you and get a puppy. What would I be looking like? I'm about. What should I bring with me? To this man.
It's consistent across the board. They're 6,500. Um, because they're so rare and so big, people, and you think of Frenchies and stuff, they're, 10, 20, 30, $40,000. But no, this breed is not. They're 6,500, and it's at a price where it's, I feel that they won't get into the wrong people's hands. And if a
Mhm.
person can't afford 6,500, I just think of the feeding these dogs, the care, training, all the things that go with a breed like this. I feel that that's a justifiable number to where the right people have them. Because if that's too steep for them, what about it if they got in an accident or something? They had to go to the vet and pay a vet bill or whatever. It's just one of those things where I think it's the right place for it. And I'm not putting the money higher because of the money. It's not about the money for me. It's this breed is a precious breed. It's historical, and I just need it to be in the right situation.
Yeah, that's how I feel about I breed Frenchies, and I feel like that too. Like if you and I've never sold a Frenchie for like 10,000, but I've sold them for like 8, 7. And I
Yeah,
feel like if you can't spend that on a dog, I know you can't take care of the dog if something happen. And
yeah,
a lot of people that inquire about Frenchies, I'm like, do you even know how many health problems this dog got? Like you just see Lady Gaga with the dog, and you say, "Oh, it's cute," blah, blah, blah. This dog can't even breathe. The dog can't be outside. The dog can't like, and I'm trying to tell people they like, oh yeah, well I could go get one for $2,000. Well, you got to go get one for $2,000 over there. So,
right.
but yeah,
Yeah,
definitely. And I feel you. I feel you on that. I think a lot of people do sometimes kind of get it confused. Like it's more like they feel like somebody's kind of robbing them or something. Like, oh, he just want me to pay this much money. But it's like if you hesitant about it, which I know is not small money, but if you don't have that money to, this is literally a child. This is a kid, a whole
yeah,
another family member. And when something happens, you have to pay.
yeah.
So
And that and it, you know what, you hit it right on the mark. I mean, it's sad, but I've seen that not just our breed, but just in breeds in general. As soon as something goes south, they're like, "Here you go," and they just drop it off at a shelter, or they literally just walk away, and then it's bad breeder, right? No, it's terrible what I see, but if it's the right person and they've invested into this dog emotionally, financially, physically, the odds are it's a good fit. So yeah, I totally get it. And I mean, yes, I hear it all the time. Oh, Marcus, these dogs are so rare, and with the history and the size, you know how much money you can make on these. And I tell them all the time, it's not about the money. I mean, if you follow me from when I did this in the beginning,
mhm,
um, these dogs were a dream for me. I mean, I loved these dogs and the history of it, and I wanted them back. I mean, it's I make good money. I have businesses, so it wasn't about that. It was about bringing that dog back. So I that's where I think it should be, and of course, at some point this breed will be well beyond me and what I have control of. But I think I've been pretty vocal about where I want the breed and how they should be, and even the pricing. So we'll see how it goes.
right. How would if somebody wanted to own a dog, own this breed of dog, and just to so people can understand, this is the American Molossus now that we're on.
Yeah.
So if somebody wanted to purchase a dog, what should they look for in the breeder? Like pretty much that. What should they look for in the breeder and the dog itself? Like what should if they're looking for that type of dog?
Well, the biggest thing here is right now they are rare, and there's only a few of us that have them. So it's difficult for anybody to just get them anyways. But as of right now, let's just say fast forward to the future when they're more available and there's more
Hmm.
people that have them. Just understanding the breed standard that I wrote, understanding the temperament, the look of them, and what makes them a molossus. I think the biggest thing is their structure. There's no breed like them. They're a massive dog, and they weren't bred to be just like I want to have some Guinness Book of Record as the biggest dog, nothing like that. But just by how they were originally, they were a big, massive, bear-billed dog, and that's important. And the breeders like myself and people that are under me, we're focusing on trying to get them healthy and live longer. And so there's no shortcuts to that, you know. So be prepared to pay the price and be prepared to know what you're getting, because if somebody tries to, like we said at the beginning of your show here, is if somebody just slaps a Neapolitan and a Mastiff together and calls it an American Molossus, and they don't have the pedigree, they don't have the paperwork, they don't have the health, they don't have the history of the dogs and their parents and grandparents and great grandparents, um, you're in for trouble. You know, because number one, you won't have the right dog, it won't look right, it won't act right, and you talk about health problems, that's where it happens. You know, shortcuts. There's just no shortcuts in anything.
Right. Right. All right. So we're on the last question. So to wrap it up, um, what are some of the most rewarding aspects of owning, well, actually bringing this dog back? And what kind of person or family do you think would be the best fit for this breed?
Well, on the question again, it was what is the most rewarding thing of bringing
A-
them back?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
the most rewarding thing for me of bringing them back is to have just have done that, to have these dogs in existence again, so people can see the history and see how they look and how they act. That to me was rewarding. And another thing that's rewarding is that for anybody that follows me or looks back at the history when I talked about what I was going to do before they were here, drawing the actual drawing of what they're going to look like and having them be here and be that, what's rewarding for me is being an inspiration for somebody that wants to do something. So for anybody out there, I don't care what it is, no matter what the odds are, no matter what the naysayers are, if you have a dream and you write it down and you put in the work, it will happen. And that's rewarding, is to be inspirational, to be a positive influence on anybody out there, to see me start from the beginning to where I am now and where we're going. And if I can be a positive influence on anybody, it's a blessing. You know, I got to thank God for that. So that's the most rewarding thing for me. Rewarding for a person to have a piece of history, to have a dog that loves them like no other, who wants to spend all their life and time around them and willing to protect them to the end. That's rewarding for them.
Man, I really enjoyed this, man. I really enjoyed this. I got one more question. It ain't a question I wrote down, but I
Okay.
heard you said, uh, and I think I seen it in your bio that you are author as well.
Yeah,
Are you-
I am.
So with the return of this breed, are you writing? I'm not gonna. I guess is it? Would I say a guide? Would I say a guide? I guess a guide or a book on the breed. Are you doing that?
Yeah, actually, so I wrote a book already called Dog Breeding Secrets. And
Hmm.
the reason why I wrote that book is because, you know, any breeder like yourself, when you get started, you're lucky to have a really good mentor. I had a few, but a lot of people look at you as more of a threat or competition, sadly. So they don't give you any advice or the wrong advice. And so what I did is I said, listen, I've been doing this for, you know, over 20 years. I mean, well, now longer than that, but when I was working on that book, and I thought, you know what, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to share everything that I know, everything that I've learned in every book, every mentor, everybody that's helped me. I'm going to write a book that helps people. And so it's step by step, talking about, you know, from selecting dogs to how to breed, the different types of breeding, the whole process. Everything's in there all the way through. And it was a blessing to be able to share that with people so they can refer to it if it can help them. And even people that don't want to be a dog breeder, but we're just curious about, you know, what goes on. I mean, like collecting a dog, for instance, you know, that can be an interesting
Right.
topic, you know. So I covered that, but fast forward to now, I am working on a second book, which is talking about the Molossus and the journey of what I wanted to do, what I'm doing, and it's gonna be a good one.
Oh man, I can't wait. I can't wait. And you said that first book was called Dog Breeding Secrets.
Yeah, yep,
Can they
dog
find that
breeding
on? Can they
secrets.
find that on like Amazon?
You can Amazon. It's on there. You can order the paperback, hardback, and Kindle.
Okay, okay, yeah. Before we go, I just want you to tell the viewers your name and how can they get in contact with you.
Name is Marcus E. Curtis, and you can check me out at oldworldmolossus.com, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, Old World Molossus.
And I'm Ty Rich, and this is Bite. Our bite is bigger than our bark over here. I appreciate you, Mark. Have a great
Hey,
day, man.
I appreciate it. You too.
Peace.